Welcome to yet Welcome to yet another webinar presented by Punjabi Chamber of Commerce on legal compliances. The Punjabi Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization headquartered in USA. It was established in 2017. The organization envisions to facilitate global and local business communities with a networking forum wherein they can build new relationships based on mutual reciprocity. We strive to provide our membership base with a two-pronged approach, qualitative and quantitative. We have a strict no religion, no politics policy in place. We believe in diversity and inclusion. Now, let me take the honor to welcome our speaker of the day, Mr. Siddharth Sodhi. Siddharth has been working in the corporate legal domain for more than 4 years. He has worked with many startups and businesses in the past, which were in the FMCG, auto parts manufacturing, software services, and other domains. He specializes in commercial law contracts and dispute resolution. Currently, Siddharth is leading a team of lawyers working to resolve legal issues of startups and businesses in India and abroad. Siddharth has also successfully handled legal work for US, Canada, France, Brazil, UK, Australia, and Dubai and Singapore-based clients. Over to you, Siddharth, and welcome on board.
Thank you so much, Kanav. Hello, everyone. It's good afternoon from India. I don't know from which other places people are joining. I saw different time zones, so probably from Eastern time zone and British time zone, I presume. I'll be talking today about legal compliances, importance and nuances of legal compliances for businesses, for startups, for established entrepreneurs. I'm presuming a lot of you are into business, or some of you are planning to start a startup, or you're already running some business. Whether you want to expand or you want to run in your own country, why legal compliance becomes important. This is something that we are going to discuss. I'll be sharing my screen and I'll take you through a PPT. After that, we'll do some Q&A. So if my screen is visible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So importance and nuances of legal compliance for startups, established businesses, aspiring entrepreneurs. Why it is important, especially if you want to actually grow your business, because sometimes you might have realized, or you might have seen if you're into business, that businesses sometimes they get stuck. And legal compliance is not the only requirement. Of course, it is one of the major requirements. Other than that, there are some secretarial requirements. When we are just over here, we are just talking about compliance. There are accountancy, compliance, and of course, your own, business techniques, your marketing, your sales. That is the business aspect. But other than the business aspect, what are the things which play a tremendous role in growing your business? Legal compliance is one of the major players in that growth, and I'm going to show you why and how the businesses who are actually able to grow their business from a small business to a big business, businesses who actually want to become industrialists, why they take legal compliance and proper taking care of the regulations in their country, properly following the law from the very inception, and then in the long term, how it helps them to take their business from a small business to a big business. Before I start my PPT, I want to give you some examples. You might have heard about these companies. Byju's, a legal tech Indian giant, $1 billion tech company. It failed. These are some failed, companies. Volkswagen is of course not a failure, but these are some companies who failed big challenges just because they were failing on legal compliance, which is why legal compliance becomes important. And if you talk about Byju's, opaque accountability and transparency in the company's financial reporting was seen, due to which the financiers, they backed out, the investors, they backed out. So investment these days, especially if you are in the West, in the US, in Canada, in the UK, in India as well these days, people who are running a business, who are starting up as a startup, they want to grow very fast. They want to scale their business, and they look out for investors who can take an equity, because taking a loan is, of course, always, it carries the interest component. You have to return it back. But people who want to grow business, they go for an equity model where the investor will take an equity and they can get the money from the investor and grow their business. So a lot of startups use this equity money to grow, implement their idea. And sometimes, of course, they see tremendous growth as well because their business idea was spectacular. But later on, if they become, lax when it comes to their legal or accountancy compliance, what happens is their whole business model, their whole creativity goes to waste, because investors will pull out, there will be bad shaming about you in the media. The same happened with Theranos, health tech startup. They were facing legal trouble because they faked some, the claims about their blood testing technology. Legal investigations went on, regulatory investigations went on, and they were non-compliance. It led to the company's downfall. Likewise, when we talk about the Dieselgate thing for Volkswagen, they were faking emissions, right? And what happened? They had to pay a huge fine in billions of dollars. Other than that, what a shame for Volkswagen as a big brand. They lost out on customers' trust. Customers' trust, when we talk about in business, is one of the major role in any business which is trying to become a brand. And for a brand like Volkswagen, it was a huge setback. Again, they were failing on legal compliance. And a lot of these companies, a lot of these businesses, why they fail in, or why they see such setbacks, such downfalls, is that, of course, a company like Volkswagen would be having a huge legal team, isn't it? It does. We can't say that they were not having lawyers or legal teams. They must be having, but sometimes the executives, the CEOs, they fail to listen to the advice which the legal teams is providing them, or the other compliance team is providing them, and they try to take a risk, and sometimes it backfires. And this is what happened with these companies. But there are some ethical companies as well which tremendously grow their businesses, raise their empire, like the Tata Group in India. Everyone has heard about the Tata Group. It's an exact example of a conglomerate, how a conglomerate looks like. They have interests almost in every area, whether it is mining, software, automobile, and they are tremendously good at compliance. We cannot say with other business, men in India. I mean, you must be aware about whom I'm talking about. Again, there was another scandal, Dioxin. They were facing legal and financial issues when it was revealed that the silicone breast implants that they were selling was causing health problems, and they were faking it. So if you are trying to take a risk in business to, tremendously grow your revenue, of course, the first step should be to take a legal advice to know that if at all things go bad, what is the kind of risk that you're taking into for your business. Because sometimes it takes a lifetime to create a business, and even one small mistake, single legal mistake, can spoil your whole hard work. Now, when and how the compliance should start for a business? According to me, compliance for a businessman, it should start from the very inception stage. When you are starting out a business, you have an idea. And you want to start a business, the first step is to register that business. Okay, even if you are alone, you can go for a proprietorship. Depending upon in which country you are, there are multiple models. Whether it is corporation, LLC, LLP, limited partnership, public limited company, depending on how you are growing, because there are different stages as well. You can start as small as a proprietor. You can later grow into a company. If you are partners, you can take the partnership route. If you are a startup, always try to have proper shareholders agreement into place. We will come to that, why shareholders agreement are important when you are a startup. Because I've seen a lot of people, they start business, they are partners, that somebody has pitched in some money, the other partner has pitched in some money, but there is no paperwork at all. And then later on, most of the fights happen because of the money, because things were not on paper, right? So if things are on paper, if you are friends as well, if your friends, relatives, you're taken money from your relative, even from your friends, even from your father, I would recommend from your, wife or husband, always to bring things on paper, because companies can grow like anything. Tomorrow, that value of that investment can be anything. And, things change when people see money. This happens with everyone. So it's always better to have things on paper from the very start. Intellectual property rights. I'm sure everyone must have heard about intellectual property rights. What are intellectual property rights? But now I'll give you a brief why it is important for a business. Specifically, if you are looking to expand your business, it becomes pertinent for you to have proper IPR into place. Depending on what business you are into, if you are making a product, you may be looking for a patent. I mean, trademarks is true for any company which is looking for for themselves to become a brand, right? For example, you register a company, now you are selling out a product or a service. You have a website, okay, you have a brand name as well. But another step should be for you to register that business, register that brand immediately, right? Because tomorrow you grow, you're selling a lot of those products. Anybody, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come up and copy your product and sell in the market. If you have a trademark, if you have proper IPR rights into place, you can immediately get an injunctive relief against that person. And sometimes we think, how much will he be able to make by making fake products? Why to, waste money in trademarks? And these small compliances is very good if you are a visionary as a businessman or a businesswoman. Why? I will give you an example. I remember I was taking a legal dispute for a company in India, and they were manufacturing snacks. I won't name the company, but they were manufacturing, like packet foods. And I had never heard the brand name of that company as well. When they came, I was for the other party, and the other party was actually faking the products, and they were, infringing the IPR rights of that plaintiff. So this plaintiff, the lawyers of the plaintiff, they went, got an injunctive relief, got a seizure order, got the other party's factory sealed. Okay, the machinery was locked. They also, got a relief that the other party has to pay so and so amount, that because he was selling from past so many months, he might have made X amount of money, right? Imagine in one single date. This is called injunctive relief, wherein even if the other party is not present, if party A has a trademark, has a proper, copyright on a product, and they're selling, they have become a brand. Okay, they can get an injunctive relief. So if I give you the numbers, this the party A, which had the trademark, which was not even a big brand that I have heard about it, was a 5,000 crore company. And the other party, the party which was infringing the rights, just by doing small leakages, like, making a fake product, sitting in a remote town in India and selling it, flooding into the market, that person was making how much? 50, 60, 70 lakh revenue. Imagine. So this amount of, the amount of loss these leakages can cause to your business, which is why having IPR rights, proper IPR rights from the very inception is very important. Secondly, for investment, if you are a startup, when we talk about startups, startups who's, if you're a founder who's looking for an investment, if you're looking out to raise investment, you go out to VCs, you go out to angel investors. The first thing, they have lawyers, they have cutthroat lawyers, teams of lawyers. They will check your paperwork. They will skim everything of your paperwork about your business. Do you have agreements in place? Do you have proper compliance? Do you have a trademark? Because if I'm an investor, you have a company, I'm pitching in my money in your company. Okay, the first thing I want is my money safe. Okay, if my money is going into a company which is not even registered, which is not even having proper, intellectual property, because as an investor, I am investing in future, that tomorrow you become an Apple. So if an Apple does not have a trademark, I'm at loss, right? And for investors, what they usually do is they invest money, they see some growth, they move out, they sell, right? That they can easily only do moving in and moving out if they are investing in a company which is foolproof when it comes to paperwork, when it comes to compliance. So if you want to raise money from investors, it is very important for you to have IPR rights in place. Copyrights, if you are into, publishing or, selling something like production, this kind of thing. So you must have heard about copyrights. Copyrights is very important, when we are talking about intangible rights like movies, music, books, intellectual property. So copyrights can come into place. If you're into product, a patent will be in place. Depending on your country, how the registration, there are different registration procedure. There are the fees varies depending on the country. There is a government fees, there is the lawyer's fees, so on and so forth. Okay, contracts and agreements. Why contracts are important for startups? We will do an overview. As I was talking, a business starts with registration. You go for an IPR, then you will start thinking about maybe investment, maybe a partnership. So how will that partnership, how will that investment happen? It will not happen in air, in thin air. It will happen on papers. Those papers are agreements, right? If you have a partner in business, there will be a partnership agreement in place. If you have an investor who is just looking for a small equity in your business, there will be a shareholders agreement. If there are no such agreements in place, you will be at a huge loss. A co-founders agreement. I will come to some important agreements as well. Co-founders agreement, very important, because and especially for the people, if you are not someone who is a business founder, but tomorrow if somebody is asking money from you, it becomes important for you as well that that person is doing an agreement with you. For example, if you are coming into a business at a very early stage, okay, and you are pitching in your money, why not you negotiate a co-founders agreement that I would like the position of a co-founder because I'm investing in your company at the very inception stage. So tomorrow, if that company grows, you will always remain the co-founder of that company. Though there is, as such, no legal difference, but that can come on the paper. It does not change your share in the business, but it certainly change your value as a businessman because co-founders, a co-founder is basically a business term, not a legal term. Some important agreements as co-founders agreement I was talking about, at the very inception, when businesses are pitching in partners, let's say, you have a great idea, you need a tech person, you are not good at tech. Okay, you found a tech person, he will give you all the tech, he will give his man hours, right? Because even that person does not have money, but he would require shares in your company, right? So a co-founders agreement can be done that he can be the tech co-founder. Okay. Likewise, people bring in CTOs, CEOs, that there's another person who's really good at operations. That person can be the chief operation officer of your company, and you do a co-founders agreement, right? You will see some, especially the new startups, smart startups, which are coming. They're very much, learning about these things. They're getting aware about these things. Why? Because these things become important at the later stage. And I've seen businesses going haywire just because they did not have these things in proper place when they started. Again, shareholders agreement. When we talk about the shareholders agreement, it brings on paper the rights of that person who has pitched in X amount of money. Let's say, there are 100 shares in a company. I have given X amount, so I'll get, let's say, 5 shares, right, of that X value. Tomorrow, the company's value can grow tremendously. But that percentage that I have 5% ownership of that company, that will always remain. Also, I will have the power during the appointment of directors in that company as a shareholder, right? These things will come on paper in these agreements. Non-disclosure agreement, very important when you are hiring people, when you are hiring co-founders, because there are trade secrets involved. You have a product, let's say, or a service. So if that person will take your idea and run away, okay, even if I have a co-founders, but I don't want to do business with you because there was no money involved, right? So a non-disclosure also comes into place in that case, that person is not stealing away the idea and giving it to someone else, right? Also, this is no non-disclosure and non-complete are also very important to do with the employees, because sometimes a lot of employees, they come in, they learn the business and they open their own businesses, right? Vendor agreements, very important when you're growing your business. When your business has started, okay, you have a lot of vendors from whom you are buying products. You are, let's say you are into textiles, okay, and you are sourcing from some vendor, but that vendor is delaying. Even let's say you are in a Western country, you have a vendor in India, right? You might have seen there are a lot of delays when we are dealing with vendors. They are not finishing the product on deadline. Even this is true even in the service industry. not even in the product, but also in the service industry, that you are into software, the other party is not delivering on time, and you have a client, okay? So you can lose out with your client if your vendor is not performing. You have an agreement with the client, you can lose out over there, right? So you have to have a proper vendor agreement in place with proper indemnity clause, that tomorrow if you get into a contractual dispute with your client, you can put that liability on that vendor. You can have things in place. That can only happen if you have a proper vendor agreement into place. Employment agreement, very important. Even if you are start a single person company, and tomorrow if you hire even an intern, always do a small agreement with that person. Okay, a small agreement talking about your terms, that okay, that there will be a non-complete, there will be a non-solicitation for these few months, you will be working, and if you want to leave, there will be a notice period. Simple clauses for an employee, very important from the very start for the formalization of your business. Also creates trust in the employees, okay, that they're going to work with someone. Secondly, it formalizes your business, very important. Thirdly, because can be an intern or an employee, when you are working with someone, it's very important that your trade secrets, your things which you are growing as a founder, should remain in the business. Also, whenever we hire people, okay, especially new businessmen, people who are like a small team or like an individual business, whenever they are hiring people, they train them, right? Because a lot of times interns or let's say fresher employees, they are not trained enough. You're going to train them, you're going to spend your time on them, if not money. Then that time investment is going to go to waste if that person leaves abruptly, right? So you need to have a proper notice period in that agreement, that tomorrow if you want to leave, you need to give me a proper notice, so that I can bring in another person, and you have to train that person, so that your liability of training the employees again and again goes away. Because as a businessman, your goal should always be to think about growing the business, rather than getting involved into the minute things on a day in and day out basis. Only then you will be able to scale your business. Again, service agreement, if you are into services, if you're providing services, software or any other services, service agreement, very important. SOWs, timely deliveries, indemnity clause. If you are the service provider, imagine if you're doing, let's say you are providing service to a big business, and these people, they bring in very smart lawyers who will do a huge agreement, and you will think, okay, I will save for the lawyer's fees. They have an agreement, I will just sign. But you will not read the agreement. Very important, at least if you are not getting a lawyer, you can get it vetted from someone. Why? Because sometimes the indemnity clause, they will come with no capping. Okay. So imagine if somebody is putting an indemnity clause without a capping, and tomorrow you make a mistake in providing a service, what will happen? You will be into litigation, you will be into an arbitration, you will be into a dispute, and the other party is asking an enormous amount of money, and the loss was not even that. Let's say you made $100,000 loss to that company because of your service was not on time, and he's asking $1 million. What are you going to do? And that agreement which you signed with, it actually said that he can ask. Very important for a business which is into manufacturing, or hiring a lot of unskilled laborers or even employees, to have proper employment laws, labor laws into place in that country. Of course, if you are if you're in the West, how labor laws are important, how even in India now, people have to comply with labor laws. I have seen employees, they simply write to the labor commissioner, there will be a raid into the office, and how in India, the commissioners, the government babus, they will harass the business, they will stop the working. So it's very important that everything related to the employment, to the labor laws in your country is into place, to avoid unnecessary, because these things are a few things in a business which can cause unnecessary delays, unnecessary investment of your time, which could have been saved if you would have put in some due diligence at the very start. So it's very important for a businessman. I always suggest them that whenever you are, because every business is different, first of all. So I have put in some general things, but every business is different. So as a founder, as a businessman, or a startup founder, an entrepreneur should always take a piece of paper, write about the business, properly their operations, everything, and then sit in a meeting with their lawyer, while taking advice, so that they can ask that what kind of disputes I can get into. And I want to be saved from all of these things, right? So that you can properly focus just into the growth of your business, getting investment, getting clients. Okay, regulatory compliance can depend again on your business model. For example, if you are a factory owner, there can be a whole lot of environmental compliance. If you are, again, let's say you have a security company or some labor providing company, there are a whole lot of labor laws. If you are into tech, or even if you are not into tech, if you're selling a product, if you are any business which is online, there are now data privacy laws. Okay, like in Europe, they have the GDPR, CCPA in Canada, HIPAA. You must have heard about these laws, which are very important to comply. Even in India now, they have the DDPA, which is a law now. It is an act passed by the parliament. So every company which is taking data of their customers, of any person who's coming to their website, they have to comply. Otherwise, anyone who just came to your website, gave you some information, and you are not complying to the prevalent data privacy law in that country, and they can file a case against you, file a complaint against you very easily just by writing to the DPO, right? So you have to, which is why I was telling you, for a businessman, it's very important to, whenever they're sitting with their lawyer or for compliance, to first do their own homework of writing, jotting down that these are the things that I'm doing, okay, and this is my business model. So you suggest me that how and what kind of things I can do to get the a proper legal advice, to get proper compliance advice, so that whatever disputes I can get into the future, I can have a proper plan, strategy, I can have proper agreements into place. My time, my investment will not go into that, because later what happens is people have to pay more if they don't spend less at the start. Okay, how business size and complexity can change, or can affect compliance for a business. Somebody on yesterday on LinkedIn told me to take these things into the presentation, so I have inculcated these things. So as a business's turnover increases, the size is increasing tremendously. You are becoming, let's say you were a proprietorship, you became a private limited company, then you became a public limited company, right? You became a corporation, you have shares in the market. Compliance will increase tremendously on every stage of your growth. Okay, the number of transactions which are increasing for you. If you have, earlier you had no website, now you have a website, you're growing in that term. Again, your compliance will increase. Your revenue size, because in a lot of countries, for example, like in India, GST compliance is not there if your revenue is less than 40 lakhs. So again, in a lot of countries, tax compliance depends on the yearly revenue. So that will change as well. So taxing, accounting, financial reporting, or your own legal compliance, because, for example, having a company secretary on board, having a data protection officer on board can be a mandatory legal requirement in your country. For example, in some European countries, having a data protection officers on board as an employee is very important part. I mean, it's part of the law, so they have to have. So likewise, depending on the business, compliances can change as the businesses grow. But again, if you have to grow, you have to be compliant. So years of operation, if we just see the size, business size and complexity depending on turnover and operation. So years of operation can also change your compliance from time to time, because maybe you started your business 30 years ago as a family business. Now, after 30 years, of course, a lot of complexities, laws, things change from time to time. Compliances change from time to time. You have to be up to date with the laws of the time. And also, let's say early you were just a startup. Let's say you just started as a startup, things were not into place. You had no agreements into place. You were hiring people randomly. Now, tomorrow you will have even an in-house HR, you will have proper things into place. So compliance change. Also, compliance can change depending on the industry size and sector, right? So, for example, in a lot of countries, even in India, labor laws change depending on the number of employees there are in a factory. For example, if there are less than X number of laborers in a factory, they don't have to comply for those kind of laws. And then if there are more, they have to comply for the Factories Act. So these laws as well change depending on the country, depending on the sector. As I was talking about environment compliance. Environment compliance is something which is again becoming tremendously important for almost every kind of business, which is doing something or the other. Not only for as a legal compliance, but also you might have seen already that customers as well, they are making a choice for businesses which are environment friendly, businesses which are taking decisions on the basis of environment, right? Geographic location. If your business is working into multiple jurisdictions, okay, then of course your compliances can change tremendously. You are sitting, let's say, into the UK or Canada, you want to invest in India. So compliance, you have to follow different, FDI policies. If you're not an Indian citizen, then, having an Indian director on board, depending on which country you're coming from. So these are the laws which change from time to time. Also, if you are operating in multiple jurisdictions, there are a lot of things which, I have seen while dealing with some clients. For example, let's say you are procuring things from different countries, right? And you are into an agreement with that vendor that tomorrow if things go bad, we can do this, we can do that. But imagine if you have, for example, you are from a developed country and your vendor is sitting into a developing country, which is not a signatory to the international treaties of arbitration. You will not be able to take that party into an arbitration. All right. So it's very important for you that whenever you are doing business, whenever you are growing and whenever you are going into another country, specifically when a business becomes multi-jurisdiction, compliances grow tremendously. Okay. Dispute resolution for a business. There are different dispute resolution mechanisms. Okay, tomorrow, let's say, even after keeping in mind all these compliances, tomorrow you get into a dispute. Sometimes disputes also happen with the customer. The customer has taken into a consumer court, or you happen to be with your client or with your vendor. So there are different dispute resolution mechanisms. In an agreement, there should always be an arbitration clause in place. And of course, tomorrow, if you want to opt for litigation or arbitration, that totally is a business decision sometimes, because I've seen sometimes businessmen, they opt for litigation, though litigation is time taking, because that becomes prudent at that time to take and linger on the matter. So that is, as a businessman, if you get into a dispute, you always have options, which is why. But if you want an immediate resolution, or if you want a faster one, have agreements in place, have clauses into place, because a lot of commercial disputes. I'll give you an example of India, and I'm sure this is in every common law, commercial, wherever we have commercial laws. Commercial disputes are given a timeline so that they can be resolved at a very faster pace. And imagine even in India now, in the Commercial Codes Act, if you have an agreement into place with a vendor, you can have a resolution within 60 to 90 days easily. If you take that person, if you file a summary suit against that person, a summary suit can only be filed if you have an agreement, not on basic transactions, Exit strategy, again, a very important consideration, to have a proper exit strategy into place in your business documents from the very start, so that tomorrow if things go wrong, which can happen to anyone, because as a businessman you should be ready for everything, right? And this, having a proper exit strategy into place, also helps in getting investors, because investors, they put in money, they want to pull out, so they would invest and they would develop trust only in a company which has a proper exit strategy into place. Okay. Okay, so for the next steps, I have, a form which I will share in the chat box, and Kanak, I discussed with her. This form you can fill out for your details, and, if you have, let's say, legal queries, later you can reach out. And in my current organization, we don't charge a single penny for queries. tomorrow if you want to, and we are operating in multiple jurisdiction throughout the world. Okay, so I'll put in the chat box and we can take questions now, I think. I hope session was insightful.
Yes, it definitely was. I would request all the participants, if they have any questions, put your questions in the chat box, and Siddharth would be answering them one on one.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind. Yes, in fact, that will be we support for trust legal compliance. For, if you have legal questions related to your business specifically, I would suggest to fill the form. That will be better so that, me or my team can reach out to you and we can have a proper insightful discussion. But if you have like general questions about your business, just works for us, India, abroad. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, form, yes, form in the Zoom chat box. I would suggest it will hardly take 30 seconds for everyone, that will be better. So that me or my team can personally reach out on your time and
We have got one question.
okay. How can we get information about applicable legal compliances for a particular business? Okay, a very good question, Mr. Tarundeep. First of all, when we are talking about any business, it's very important to understand from the very first stage that what that business is doing. in which area that business is located, because of course, there are real estate laws as well, which are to be complied with. How many employees are going to be there? Okay. Okay, for edutech, single window, which country is that business is into? Okay, this question. And employees, labor laws come into place. Let's say that business is going to rent an office, real estate laws are going to come into place. On every stage, there are compliances on every stage. Trademark, of course, intellectual property rights, especially when you're talking about edutech, that IPR is going to be there, right? What else can be there? If you're talking about edutech, which area that edutech is into. If you are developing courses, you can have copyrights for those courses or for those things for your business. For your employees, you can have employment contracts. For your partners, you can have shareholders agreement, etc. Inception, registering the business. And of course, a lot of compliances are there, which, when you grow, you slowly keep on incorporating in your business. So it's when you have registered, when you have done a trademark, you have some co-founders agreement or shareholders agreement in place, that, my agenda was not to make business people nervous. The agenda is to, okay, if you have things into place, you have basic compliance into place, a businessman should always try to start the business immediately. And then, of course, during the course of business as well, compliances keep on. Compliance is something which will keep on going throughout the journey. In fact, that is the best thing, which actually is also a testimony to the fact that your business is growing. For example, if a private limited company goes to and converts into a public limited one, there are a whole lot of compliances. It take, in fact, months to finish those compliances. Tomorrow, if your company, let's say, is merging with another company, so a merger transaction will take place, which is again a big compliance. A lot of compliance are there. So after some basic compliances are done into your business, the business should start, and then compliances can go on. Yes, one response I've received on the form of Nimandeep. This form, Kanak, you can even send them to maybe email or other source, so that people who want to fill later can fill later as well. But that will be,
yeah,
that will be better, because so that if you want a proper, because for this legal roadmap, for the first phone call conversation, my team and our firm, we do not even charge anything. So it will be better, you can put on your questions and thoroughly we can answer you. And depending, also knowing about your business in detail. Even if you do not have a business, you just want to know what compliances you want to should be in place.
Definitely. I'll be sharing the form link with all the attendees and our members, whoever want to seek your guidance. Rest, if in case they want to connect with you one-on-one, I hope there's not an issue if I provide your contacts to them. So that?
Yeah, sorry.
I was asking that in case they want to connect one-on-one with you directly, so I hope
they can fill that form for that. I will connect for one-on-one, which is why I created that form.
Perfect. Any more questions? I guess that's all from the members' side.
All right.
Yeah. Any more questions from the members? Okay. Fine. So if there would be any, they will be sharing the form with them. They can connect with you one-on-one accordingly. And Now, I guess there's no other question coming up. Let's wind up this session.
Sure.
It was actually a lovely session, and the part wherein you mentioned many kind of agreements regarding the investors and everyone. So I recently I recalled actually a meeting wherein I was having a conversation with the angel investors or the these virtual capitalists. So all these points were mentioned over there, and at that point of time, I was quite blank. But today, while you were discussing about it, I was like, okay, this is this, this is this. So
Mm.
it was really an insightful session, and it
Thank
actually
you.
helped us. Even we as a chamber team, we have one of our event flagship program that's called the Punjabi. Sure, Tarundeep ji will be sharing the recording as well. I'll definitely share it with you. So we have a flagship event. It's called the Punjabi Angels, wherein we do the investment part also to the startups that are associated with us. So
Oh,
yes,
great.
it
In fact,
in that.
but it will be lovely to connect there as well, so that if you are, that vertical is into investing, they must be looking for agreements,
Mhm. Definitely, definitely will put forward the proposal.
Sure.
So I guess that would be enough. And thank you so much for sparing time for us and providing such insightful information to our members and to us also.
Thank you, Manu.
Look
Thank you for inviting
good
me.
forward to connect with you
Sure.
in the future as well.
Sure. Please do share the form with the members.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
Manu.
that. Yeah. Good day. Bye-bye.